Have a close look at the picture. I could easily imagine myself wearing this dress. I love it. It's very stylish. Have a very close look at the design. I know that not all the details are seen in the printed picture, so let's have a look at the sketch we made. A round neckline. Notice that it's pretty wide. We're going to cut about 4 or 5 centimeters from the neck base on each side. The raglan sleeves are pretty loose. What is also interesting is that there is a seam on the center front. Here it is in the sketch. Notice that the seam goes not to the very neckline. There will be a horizontal seam here. You should go from one bust top to the other one. The seam on the center front kind of divides the dress in half. There will be one more seam placed here in between the center front and the end of the horizontal seam. There will also be bias seams here in the raglan sleeves. I think that this is not a draping. I think that these are the straight sleeves gathered with the straps. First, I'm going to show you how to make a round neckline and the raglan sleeves. When the upper part of the dress is ready, we'll move on to working with the lower part.
И после того, когда мы сделаем вырез реглан, разберемся с верхней частью платья, мы с вами уже подойдем к моделированию вот этого вот интересного лифа.
I'm going to make a dress for Ira. I'm going to show you how to adjust her basic pattern to this design. First, I'm going to show you how to make a pattern. When the pattern is ready, we'll show you how to cut and tack the dress. Ira is going to try the tacked dress on. What is also interesting is that the dress can be made of 2 different fabrics. You can make the upper detail of different fabric, or you can even cover it with lace. I've already showed you how to work with the details covered with lace or net. Don't be afraid to use your imagination. And remember that practice makes perfect. Let's have a look at the neckline first. You know that when working with the basic patterns, we always start with the necklines. I'm going to show you a very detailed tutorial on how to adjust a basic pattern for this design. Have a look at what I'm doing. In order to start working with the neckline, I need to move the dart. I'm going to move it to the center front.
Ну, я бы сказала, что я временно перевожу, но мы посмотрим еще.
Let's have a look at the picture once again. The center front detail should be cut on the grain. This one should be cut on the grain as well. The side details should be cut on the bias. I'm going to show you how to make the patterns for these details. I'll explain everything. I've moved the dart to the center front. I did it to be able to work with the neckline and the sleeves without any problems. I think that the armhole should be made a bit deeper, just for about 1 centimeter. This is what I'm doing now. I remind you that when working with the basic patterns, you can change the depth of the armhole, but not its width. This is a very important rule. You should also remember that when adjusting the armholes, you should adjust the sleeves as well. When the course on the 10 measurement cutting system is out, I'll give you a lot of useful tutorials on how to work with the basic patterns. How much wider should the neckline be made? Let me see it. I think that 4 centimeters would be enough. I'm making a dress for Ira, and she doesn't like too wide necklines. Let's have a look at the picture once again. The front neckline should be made about 7 or 8 centimeters deeper. The line should be straight here on the center front, and then go up. The angle should be round. Next, I need to draw the back neckline. It should be of the same shape. Now you know that the round necklines can be different. Notice that there are no shoulder darts in Ira's basic pattern. It's absolutely okay. When you cut the neckline, match the shoulders to see if they're even. As I've already said, there are no shoulder darts in Ira's basic pattern. She has a straight back and the wide shoulders. It's not that she didn't make the darts just because she doesn't like them. It's because the pattern fits her perfectly without them. The necklines are ready. Let's move on to working with the Raglan sleeves. Have a look at the sleeve pattern. First, I need to make it 1 centimeter deeper. I need to do it because I've made the armhole 1 centimeter deeper. I've made the side points 1 centimeter deeper. This is how the pattern looks like now. Next, I need to fold the pattern in half and make a cut about 1 centimeter down from the fold. The cut should be about 7 or 8 centimeters long. Notice that I'm making a beautiful round line. I'm not using a ruler. This is how the pattern looks like now. There is a 2 centimeter wide opening here. Next, I need to cut the pattern in half. I'll sign the front and the back sides. As I've already said, the pattern should be cut in half. The pattern for the Raglan sleeves is almost ready. I can move it aside and get back to the bodice. I remind you that you can make the Raglan sleeves of any shape you want. I'll draw the line about 6.5 centimeters down from the shoulder on the neckline. 6.5 centimeters. As I've already said, you can make the Raglan sleeves of any shape you want. I want the line to be round and beautiful. Watch how I'm drawing it. Next, I need to draw a line on the back. It can also be made of any shape you want. There's no right or wrong here. I'll sign that this is the front detail, and this is the armhole. This is the armhole in the back detail. I'll show you what the details should be signed for. These details should be cut. The shoulder seam should turn into the center sleeve. The thing is that it shouldn't be attached to the very edge. How to do it? It shouldn't be attached in such a way that the whole opening is here or here. Attach it in such a way that the openings are even on each side. This is very important. Next, I need to outline the sleeve pattern to a piece of the tracing paper and cut it in such a way that the pattern consists of just one detail. I need to do the same thing with the pattern for the back. This is what I signed the armhole for. I need to know how to attach the details to each other. Make sure that the openings are even. Next, I'm going to outline these patterns to a piece of the tracing paper and cut them in such way that they consist of the one-piece details. Let's get back to the very beginning. Why is it so important to draw and cut the front and the back necklines before you move on to working with the sleeves? The only case you can make the details otherwise is when you don't make the necklines wider. Don't cut the Raglan sleeves before making the necklines wider. In this case, you would have to adjust each detail separately. It would be really hard to do it accurately. This is why I drew the neckline first, and then the Raglan sleeves. I remind you that I've made the neckline 4.5 centimeters wider. This is very important. This is the only way to make the Raglan sleeves accurately. Watch what I'm doing next. I want to make the sleeves 2 centimeters longer. This is where the pattern should be pinned. Next, I need to outline the sleeves in such a way that there are no sharp angles in them. This is the neckline. Do not outline this angle. Draw a smooth, beautiful line instead of it. Have a look at the new line. Notice that there is no angle in it. The line is round and beautiful. Have a look here. This is where the shoulder ends. I need to add about 5 millimeters here. This is how the line should be drawn. I also want to add about 5 millimeters here. That's it. I can detach the pattern and throw it away. I'll note that this is the front detail. Next, I need to do the same thing with the back detail. I think that those who watch most of my videos already know how to make Raglan sleeves. I've already showed you that a lot of times. I remind you that I made the front detail 2 centimeters longer. The back detail should be made longer as well. First, I need to outline the neckline. Do not forget to add 5 mm extension to the shoulder top. If you don't do it, the sleeve might be too tight. Watch what I'm doing. Outline these details. Notice that there is an angle here. Don't pay attention to it. Draw a smooth, round line. When making the Raglan sleeves, draw beautiful, smooth lines. The dress is going to be so beautiful. The pattern for the back detail is ready. I can detach the pattern and sign the new one.
Уже оно нам не нужно. Пишите.
It's not actually necessary to sign the details. I'll show you what to pay attention to.
Обращать внимание.
Have a look at these details. Why is it not necessary to sign them? This angle in the front detail is always lower than it is in the back detail. This is the detail I'm talking about. The angle in the back is always higher and it's more sharp. I signed the details for you to see everything clearly. I told you how to tell the details from each other, for you not to worry if you forget to sign them. The sleeve patterns are ready. Let's get back to the front detail. I need to measure the distance between the dart top and the center front and divide it in half. There is about 10 centimeters here, so the half of the measurement is 5 centimeters. This seam should be biased. I want to end it not in the tack, but 1 centimeter further. This is where the end of the tack is, and this is where I drew the mark. This is the point 5. I need to connect it with this point with a straight line. I'm drawing everything with a pencil. Next, I need to decide where to place the waist tack. This is a princess seam, so I think that there is no need to move the full tack open into it. The opening of the waist tack is 3 centimeters wide. It's too big. I'll make it 2.5 centimeters wide. I'd better move a part of the opening to the center front seam. I'm moving the 2.5 centimeter wide opening to the seam. Watch what I'm doing next. I want the tack to start not in the very end of the seam, but a couple of centimeters higher. It would be much easier to draw the angle here in this case. Next, I need to draw a line from this point to the side seam. You can draw this line however you want. I want it to look this way. Next, I need to outline the drawn details with a marker pen. The bias seam here, the tack, I've drawn the lines with the ruler. When taking and stitching them, make them more smooth. Your parents didn't use a ruler when making you.
Вы когда будете заметывать и вот так ножничком вырезать, ну делайте линии такие более плавными.
I can start cutting this detail now.
Мы вырезаем вот эту часть.
I remind you that this is where I've moved the waist tack.
Она у нас также тоже
This is the detail which I'm talking about.
Она точно так же приталивает. В результате мы с вами получаем вот эту деталь, вот она, вот эту деталь, вот она.
This detail isn't ready yet. I'm going to make it later. Do not forget to sign the center front. It's also important to sign where there will be a seam or a fold here.
От точки 5.
I remind you that I'm showing you how to make a dress, which design was suggested by one of my subscribers. The techniques which I'm showing you in these tutorials are pretty useful.
Увеличиваем свои знания в моделировании. Смотрите, что
Let's have a look at what we got.
Я от начала
This is where the chest dart is now.
вот сюда нагрудную выточку.
This is the checkpoint. It should be signed. It should have actually been done much earlier. Sign the checkpoints right after moving and cutting the chest dart.
Выточку нагрудную И вот здесь сделай разрез.
It's very important for the checkpoints to match.
Точки, которые в платье,
Have a look here.
контрольная точка.
These are also the checkpoints.
Смотрите.
They should match as well.
Точка 5, контрольная точка 5. Они тоже должны совпасть. Вот и смотрите, мы получили такую деталь. Вот.
We're going to stitch the tack first, and then the chest dart. I remind you that this part should be cut on a bias. What should we do in order for it to be true? Nothing. I just need to sign that this is also the center front, and that it should be cut on the grain. Have a look here. When I place this detail on the grain, this part is placed in the bias. I hope that everything is clear so far. The angle should match as well as these details. I'm not going to sign them. In order for this detail to be cut on the bias, I just need to place this detail on the grain. I also need to sign that there will be a fold here. Be very attentive. I remind you that there will be no seam on the center front in the upper detail. The front is ready. Let's get back to working with the sleeves. I remind you that there should be the bias seams in them. There is nothing else I need to change in the back, just the Raglan details. Let's have a look at the details once again. There will be a fold on the center front in this detail. It should be cut on the grain. And there will be a seam in the lower detail of the front. The design is pretty complicated. I like it. I like it when drawing a pattern requires some thinking. Let's have a look at the sleeve pattern once again.
Вот наши рукава.
I'm looking at the original picture to see where the seam should be placed.
Идет вот такая вот линия.
This is how the seam is going to look like.
Она идет вниз.
The pattern should be cut according to these lines. I'm not going to add anything for the draping. The sleeves in the dress are straight, and they are gathered with the straps. Do not forget to sign these details after cutting. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to make accurate sleeves. Do not forget to sign everything. This is very important. I can move the sleeve details aside. The back, the lower detail at the front, there will be a seam on the center front here. This is the upper detail at the front. There will be a fold on the center front here. Now you know how to make a pattern for this amazing dress. I'm going to show you how to cut and take it. There are some details which you should pay attention to. This is the fabric I'll be working with. It might remind you of the Chanel style, but this is actually not the Chanel style fabric. I remind you that I'm making a dress for Ira. I decided to make this dress for her because I had her basic pattern at hand. First, I'm going to cut the back and the upper and the lower details at the front. When these details are ready, I'll move on to working with the sleeves. Have a look here. These 2 points should be attached to each other. I've signed them. This is the point 1. The point 1 in this detail should be attached to the point 1 in the other detail. These 2 points should be also stitched together. These are the points too. Have a look at this angle next. These are the points 3. First, we're going to stitch these seams, and then this one.
Тут какие-то были цифры, но я уже по новому.
This is the checkpoint I've signed in the previous video. These 2 points should match as well.
Контрольная точка должна совпасть с контрольной точкой.
Let's have a look at the checkpoints. The first one, the second one, the third one, and the fourth one. It's very important to stitch these points accurately. Now you know how to tack and stitch the front details. Let's have a look at the back next. It's very simple. There's just one tack in it. If the fabric was softer, there would have been no need to make a tack in it. It would have been enough just to make the curves in these seams. As I've already said, the back detail is very simple. There's just a regular tack in it. I've also added an extension for vent here. The dress is going to be long and tight, so the vent should be made for Ira to be able to walk without any problems. Let's have a look at the sleeves next. These are the Raglan sleeves with the round seams. This is how the pattern looks like now. Before cutting the seams, I need to make sure that all the details are signed. The back, the front. I also need to sign the grain. In order to draw the grain, I need to drop a perpendicular up from the bottom. The grain. It's very important to sign the grain before cutting the details. Be very attentive and don't make mistakes. This is also the grain. The grain, the upper detail at the back, the lower detail at the back. The grain, the upper detail at the front, the lower detail at the front. We've decided to make the sleeves 20 centimeters longer. The fabric is pretty strong, so this is not a summer dress. This is why we decided to make them longer. This is the upper front detail of the sleeve. If there was no grain marked in it, how would it be possible to know how to cut it? I need to lay the lower sleeve details here in order to be able to make them longer. There is enough space here. I'll make them 21 centimeter longer. Do not forget about the 1 centimeter extension. You should also remember about the seam extension on top of these details. When I cut the dress, Ira will help me take it. After that, she'll try the dress on. This is not a mock-up. This is the actual garment. I'm sure that the dress is going to be very beautiful. I can't wait to see Ira wearing it. These details should be laid this way for them to be cut on the grain. Do not forget about it.
Видите, да? Вот долевая нить. Отлично.
The details can't be cut this way. They should be cut in the same direction. Be very attentive. Make sure that you cut the details accurately. It's not hard to pin these details because there's also a crosswise grain clearly seen in them. Be very attentive. When I pin the details, I'll start cutting them. Next, I need to make the
Сейчас же
sleeves
нужно удлинить рукав.
21 centimeter longer.
Ну вот так, на
21 centimeter,
удлиняем.
21 centimeter, 21 centimeter here.
Ну вот здесь сантиметра на
I'll
2
also make the
возьмем
sleeves 2
пошире,
centimeters
чтобы нам
wider.
взять пошире, а уже Ира потом себе
Ira can make them tighter if she wants to
Но мы
after
здесь не
refitting.
заужаем, потому что она хоть
The sleeves are going to be
но
straight.
хочет тут на таком
Even though we're making them longer,
вот
we're
здесь
still going to make the straps in
Ну
them.
вот так все-таки тоже, что присобирался на хлястик. Сейчас
I'm going to cut the sleeves first. As I've already said, we'll be able to make them tighter if we want after refitting. I can start cutting the sleeves now. When they're ready, I'll move on to cutting the front and the back. I don't need to draw these 1 centimeter seam extensions for cutting. The fabric is kinda striped, so it's better to cut the details on the same level.
Она не прямо такая ярко выраженная полоска, но что-то есть. Лучше кроить на одном уровне.
Have a look here. This is the inner seam of the sleeve. It's very important that you shouldn't add any seam extension to the very angle. Cut these points right along the pattern.
Самый, где внутренний шов рукава, я вот ничего никогда не прибавляю. Вот так вот раз уже по бумажке режу. Оно всегда так.
Do the same thing with the other detail.
Не нужно. Вот
That's it.
теперь вот эти
Next, I need to cut the upper sleeve details. It's not hard to do it.
Здесь ничего не нужно.
Just add 1 centimeter seam extension to each side. The most complicated thing when making such dresses is actually the taking and the stitching. We need to be very careful and make sure that all the needed angles and checkpoints match. This design is not new. It's actually pretty old-fashioned. You can see such dresses in the old French movies.
Спина.
These are the front and the back details of the Raglan sleeves. Imagine the details were not signed. We would have wasted so much time trying to understand how to cut and tack them. It's not for us to waste time trying to understand how to do this or that. This is why we signed the details. These are the front and the back details of the sleeve. I can move them aside and start cutting the front and the back. First, I need to draw a vent in the back detail. Ira doesn't like high vents. This is how it is going to look like. This is the center back. I also want to add 2 centimeter seam extension to the center back. I remind you that I'm cutting the back.
Сантиметр.
1 centimeter extension here, 2 centimeter for the side seam. I need to add 2 centimeters because the fabric is pretty strong. We are going to make the side seams 2 centimeters wide. If we decide that the dress is too tight, we'll be able to alter the seam after refitting. The back details are ready. Do not forget to make the checkpoints here on the waistline. Let's move on to cutting the front. I remind you that there will be a seam in the lower front detail. The width of the side seam extension is 2 centimeters. There is no need for me to draw the 2 centimeter extension for cutting. You can do it if you need to. One centimeter here. Be very attentive. I remind you that I'm cutting the front. The seam extension in these details should be 1 centimeter. This is very important. You can make the side, the center front and the center back seams wider. When it comes to cutting these details, the seam should be not more than 1 centimeter wide. Do not forget to make a notch on the waistline. This is very important. Such tiny details make our work much easier. I also need to make a notch in this angle. You can do it later if you want. I've decided to do it in advance. I need to make this seam a bit tighter. Be very accurate and attentive when cutting. A couple of extra millimeters can make the sewing process much harder. The only detail left to be cut is the upper detail at the front. I liked this design because it was not too simple. Complicated designs are very interesting. Do not forget to make the notches on the waistline. If the fabric you're working with doesn't allow making notches in it, make space in seams or the chalk marks. This is very important. This is the side seam, so I need to add the 2 centimeter extension here. There should also be a notch on the waistline here. This is the Raglan detail. This is the front neckline. I remind you that there will be a fold on the center front in the upper detail. The checkpoint should match. Have a look at the dart. You can leave it the way it is now, or you can make a cut here, which should stop 1 centimeter away from the angle. In our case, the dart is tiny. It would be better to sew it without cutting. I can detach the pattern now.
Выкроечку снимаю, выточку снимаю, уже заговорилась.
This is where the dart top is now. I'm going to show you what to do with it later. This is how the dart looks like now. Be very attentive. This detail is very important. Next, I need to trace it to the other side. After that, I'll start taking the dress. When I finish working with this dart, I'll trace the waist tack in the back. I've pinned the dart in order to trace it. Please be very attentive. There is an absolutely the same dart on the other side. I need to make a tiny cut here. It should be made in order for me to be able to tack this seam.
Потому что нам же этот шов тоже нужно сметывать. Вот. Вот этот шов.
This is the seam I'm talking about.
Хорошо.
Next, I need to trace the waist tack to the back details.
Спиночки талиевую. Это я так вот мелом.
I make the same moves more than once for you to see everything clearly.
Что не пишет. Все.
The notch at the waistline, the waist tack. Do not forget to mark the waistline in the tack as well. Next, I need to detach the pattern and trace the tack to the second detail. When it's done, I'll start taking the dress. That's it. I don't need this pattern anymore, so I can detach all the details. I'm not going to throw it away. If Ira likes the dress, she'll be able to make it of other fabric or other color.
Никогда не трудно положить его в папочку. Особенно, когда с ним столько поработали.
This is also one of the ways to be different and beautiful. I can move the pattern aside. Next, I need to trace the dart to the other detail. Here it is. Very nice. We're not going to show you the whole sewing process. We'll just show you the most complicated details. I'm definitely going to show you how to tack this detail. The back will be tacked off the camera. There's nothing complicated in it. I'll also show you how to tack the raglan sleeves. After that, Ira will try the tacked dress on. There is no need for us to show you the whole sewing process. You'll just waste your time watching how to tack the simple details. I'm taking the center front. The width of the seam is 1 centimeter. The center front is ready. Have a look at the table. This is how the center front seam looks like from the right side.
Вот у нас шов по центру переда. Вот он, шов по центру переда. Вот он.
I remind you that there will be a fold on the center front in the upper detail. I need to make a notch in the fold. A notch should be tiny. It should match the seam on the center front in the lower detail. This is where this point is in the sketch. The point where the seam and the notch in the center front should match. Next, I need to pin the notch on the waistline, the check points on the side seam,
На боку точки.
and the two angles.
Соединяем с этим уголком.
I remind you that I've made a cut on the angle.
Вот так вот откроется.
This is how they should be pinned.
Вот так. Поэтому вот здесь на сантиметр, здесь вот мы должны поставить.
I'll show you everything more clearly when I start taking the seams.
Понятно.
Oh, I've almost lost the needle.
Я ее потеряла.
I'm going to tack the seam from the side with a notch in it.
Я метаю.
The fabric I'm working with is pretty strong.
Потому что мне надо вот эту
If your fabric is different, you can double the angle with a piece of the interfacing material.
Кривым материалом.
The dress turned out to be pretty complicated, so I'm glad that we've decided to show you not only the pattern making, but also the cutting and the taking.
Потому что если бы мы закончили на вчерашнем видео, многие бы, конечно, запутались. Ну и, конечно,
I really like this design. I'm glad that one of my subscribers sent this picture to me.
Ты не найдешь такой модели, какой наши ученики найдут.
The customers who come to my fashion house also create a lot of different, interesting designs themselves. Sometimes me and the tailors of my fashion house don't even have enough words to describe our fascination.
Все модельеры. Они такое придумают, что никакой модельер не придумает.
I've passed the ankle, so next I need to tack the distance to the checkpoint. After that, I'll turn this detail right side out in order to have a look at the seam from the right side. You need to be very accurate when taking the angle. It's not as easy as it seems. You need to be very accurate. When I finish taking this detail, I'll show you how it looks like from the right side. This is the waistline. Have a look here. It's very important to be accurate when taking this detail. I've reached the waistline, so I can continue taking the seam. I remind you that I had made a notch in the angle before I started taking it. Let's continue working. I need to take the pins out. Next, I need to attach the notch on the center front to the seam on the center front. I remind you that there is a fold on the center front in the upper detail. Here's the checkpoint. It should be pinned. Next, I need to tack the second side. It should be tacked absolutely the same way. The checkpoints, the waistline, these details should be tacked very accurately. First, I need to pin the notches on the waistline. And then the angle. Do not forget to open the notch and pin it this way. Do not forget about the side seam. I prefer to work accurately. If you don't work accurately, you won't be able to make the high-quality garments. You would also have to fix mistakes. I think that it's better to spend some time trying to be accurate than waste some time trying to fix mistakes. I really hope that my subscribers work accurately and attentively. Guys, don't let me down. I believe in you.
Уже знаем, что нам надо делать точно все. Неважно, в каком порядке вы
It doesn't really matter in which direction to tack the seam.
Вниз, вот моя.
I'll be taking it down from the waistline.
Далее вниз начинаю метать. Ну, я рада то,
This
что
dress is
пишет
perfect
хотя
for
бы
spring.
туда к сентябрю
Ira
платье
says that she
будет
already
не
loves it.
такое тонкое. Вот у
I'm
вас
sure that the dress will suit her perfectly.
легкомысленное, а нужно уже
This is going to be a very elegant
чем-нибудь
dress.
серьезным. Я
I want to make some serious clothes for myself.
стать более серьезной. О, я
I'm thinking of making a jacket.
Нет, но я-то могу ж не один пиджак себе шить.
Of course, this is not going to be the only serious garment I have.
Я когда пришла, говорю,
When I told Oля that I need to learn to be more serious
Оля говорит,
and work on my serious facial expression, she said that it's not for me.
на себя в зеркало посмотрела.
It made me stand in front of a mirror thinking, why isn't it?
Тоже
I want to at least to be able to make it look like I'm a serious woman.
серьезная женщина.
I've already tacked these two seams.
Низ бочка до линии талии.
Next, I need to tack the seam up from the waistline. Let's have a look at what we got.
Что мы имеем?
Here are the
Наша
darts,
ниточка.
and
Вот
here
она
is a
наша
horizontal
ниточка.
seam on the center front.
Вот пошла. Вот наш центр.
The darts are
переда.
placed on each side of it.
Вот центр переда мы приметываем кверху. И
Next, I need to
вот
tack
такую
this seam
выточку
together with the
отсюда
darts.
до сюда мы должны сейчас заметать. Вот,
Here is the seam which I'm talking about.
вот это.
Here it is in the pattern.
До этой точки. У
All
нас
the other
всё
details in the
готово.
front are ready.
А вот смотрите, что я делаю.
I've already pinned the notch to the seam on the center front.
Центром скололи, мы не ошибемся. Представьте, это
I want you to understand that this is the absolutely the same chest dart which was in the basic
Вы
pattern.
представьте себе,
This is how different it looks like now.
насколько она видоизменилась. Это ж просто вообще. Модель
The design of the dress is pretty
мы подумали,
complicated,
что людям,
so we decided to show you how to take it.
конечно, надо помогать. Хотя у нас такие
Sometimes my subscribers come to my fashion house.
сообразят.
They show me the clothes they sew on the basis of my tutorials.
Ту первую модель, которую очень сложно.
Oh
Не
my,
знаю, зачем мы
you
делали.
guys are so
Она
talented.
уже сделала. Боже, я просто в обморок упала. Вот это люди, думаю, все хотят делать, аж не могут.
This is how the seam looks like from the wrong side.
Вот так.
And from the right side. This is definitely not my size. We're going to tack all the other details off the camera. The side and the shoulder seams. We've showed you how to tack the most complicated details. Have a look at this part. The chest darts make the dress fit the body perfectly. I want you to have a very close look at the front. I think that it's very beautiful. Next, we're going to tack all the other details of the camera. After that, Ira will try the dress on. There is no need for us to show you how to tack the raglan sleeves. I've already showed you how to make them more than once. Watch the videos if you haven't done it yet. I wanted to show you how to tack this detail. Have a look at Ira. She's wearing a tacked dress. We haven't changed anything. We haven't even darned it. This is how the dress looks like right after the taking. Notice how perfect this part is. I remind you that we made the sleeves longer. The back will look much better when it's ironed. I think that we might need to alter the center back seam a bit, just for a couple of millimeters. Ira is going to stitch this dress herself, so it's up to her whether to alter it or not. I love the way the dress looks like. Have a look at these seams. They make the sleeves look very interesting. It's very easy to make these seams. Just make the cuts and add the seam extension to them. You can also decorate these seams with a bias binding. Or you can think of some other ways of decorating. The straps also look very interesting. The most important thing for me is that we showed you how to make these detail. I'm pretty sure that Ira is going to make this dress in different colors. That's all for today. Be different and beautiful. We're Paukšte Irina and Ira. Subscribe to my channel, write comments, share videos, press like and the bell buttons. I would really appreciate your support. Thank you. Goodbye.